How you guys doing today? My name is Twan Russell, and this is the Audible powered by South Florida 4. To my right, we have Alain Poupart, and to my left, we have Andy Cohen. We both know these guys. You may not know me. I'm a Dolphin alumni. I'm going to try to keep us out of trouble today, but these guys are going to give you all the content. So the big question is, last night we selected in the 22nd pick, Charles Harris. And, you know, everyone's saying that's the guy that we want. So the question today is, now that we have our guy, who do you want in the second and third round?
Since they went defensive end, I'll give it to you in a minute, Alan.
Go ahead.
Just impart whatever knowledge I have. Since they went defensive end in the first round, I wouldn't mind seeing either a linebacker or a defensive back, somebody who's physical enough to be good against the run. I know there's a lot of good defensive players out there. Having said all this, they'll probably go with the tight end, but I just think the defense remains the need. Certainly getting a pass rushing player was a great way to start. Alan, your thoughts?
Well, Andy, I have to agree with you. I think they need to continue with the defense because that obviously was the issue last year. I'm thinking linebacker as well. I have a name particularly in mind, Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt. If he should so happen to be there at 54, which is the Dolphins' current slot, in the second round, that I would be very happy with that pick. If not a linebacker, certainly a defensive back. You can never have enough cornerbacks, just like Chris Greer said after the pick of Charles Harris yesterday, that you can never have enough pass rushers. You can never have enough.
What can you never have enough of?
That's a very good question.
Well, we started a little early. So last night we did take Charles Harris.
Right.
When you look at him, you know, everyone says he's a gym rat. He's a football guy. He has the fastest first step in the draft this year. When you guys look at what he can bring to the Dolphins and how he's going to help us next year, you know, how do you see him being used? Is he going to be a part of the rotation? Or?
Oh, he'll definitely be part of the rotation. They've got 4 quality defensive ends with Harris, and 2 of them really excel against the run, and 2 of them really excel rushing the passer. That would be Wake and Harris. I think you're going to see a lot of Wake and Harris together in a variety of looks. You'll see them both from the outside. I think you may see Harris lined up inside in pass rushing situations. There's a lot of ways they could go. Alan, your thoughts?
Again, you took the first shot at it.
Okay,
I can only echo what you said. I'll have the first shot of the next one.
Okay, you can have the first shot of the next
What he
one.
said.
Okay.
That's a cop-out.
I mean, he put it so brilliantly, there's nothing I can add. He's going to be part of the rotation with Wake, Branch, and William Hayes. At times, he's going to slide inside in pass rushing situations. He's not going to be a full-time guy, I wouldn't expect early on. But the idea is that he's going to develop into that under the tutelage of the coaching staff, as well as Cam Wake, who's a great guy to be able to learn from.
Now, a lot of people are saying that, you know, he's a pass rush specialist, and they felt we should go with a guy maybe with a run stopper. How do you feel about, you know, I personally feel that we solidified our run defense in the offseason. We brought in Timmons, we have Hayes, and I think those guys are going to help us more on the defense. So I like the idea that we brought in a guy that can pass rush.
Yeah, I think they need more on the run defense. They certainly had a nice start in free agency, but I think it's important that they get linebackers and defensive backs that can do well against the run. But yeah, their defensive line, they're in pretty good shape in their defensive line now.
And I'm going to throw the flag on Andy because I was supposed to get first crack at that question. What he said. No, again, it's the same deal. Yes, they made some significant improvements to the defense in terms of helping the run defense, as Andy so beautifully put, with the acquisition of William Hayes, with the signing of Lawrence Timmons. It also is incumbent upon the guys who were there last year also to do better against the run. It wasn't strictly that they didn't have all the guys they needed. It was also some guys didn't do as well against the run as they need to do, and they're going to need everybody to pick it up.
And one other point I'd like to make. Their run defense suffered big time when Rashad Jones went down for the season. He's an excellent run defender from the safety position, comes up to the line of scrimmage, makes plays. Having him healthy this year will automatically improve their run defense.
I'm going to take a couple of questions from Facebook and Periscope. I think the first one's from Egyptian King 00. Any thoughts on why we didn't take Reuben Foster?
Alan.
I will take that one first. Well, obviously, if Reuben Foster was completely clean as a prospect moving forward based on what he did at Alabama, chances are the Dolphins would have jumped all over him. But there are issues. There are some off-the-field concerns. There are also some issues with the shoulders. I heard something today where he's supposed to have surgery coming up soon. So what are the long-term ramifications of the shoulder issues? Plus, you're not looking at a completely clean prospect from an off-the-field perspective. So obviously, the Dolphins had a very strong conviction on Charles Harris, and that's why they went with him.
Alan, we have Jesse Badakis. What's the chance of Harris standing up and playing linebacker opposed to being a pass rusher off to the end?
I'm Alan, but you can take that
I'm
one
sorry.
if you want.
Andy,
Alan, Andy.
I'm gonna do that more often.
Just call us A. Just call us A.
Andy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you're going to see him stand up some. They're going to take advantage of his speed. So while we have him listed as a defensive end, in some formations he's going to be an outside linebacker. He's going to be rushing stand up from the line of scrimmage. He's a good player, but it's impossible to know at this point how effective he's going to be. We just have to wait and see.
I actually disagree with you. I don't think he's going to be a stand-up guy at all. I think in a 4-3 defense, the only chance that he will have to play as a linebacker is to be as a Sam linebacker. And I don't know if he can cover a tight end. And because I think my personal opinion, I think they're going to move Kiko to weak. So there's no other opportunity for him to be able to stand up and play. I think ultimately they brought him in to be a rush outside linebacker, a guy that can get off the ball, who's physical, nasty, plays intense, and I think that's why they brought him. I don't think we're going to see him at linebacker at all.
You think Timmons will play middle linebacker?
I think Timmons is going to play middle linebacker. That's the way I envision it. Timmons plays middle, move Kiko to weak side, like in my perfect world, and then you have Koa Misi at the Sam linebacker. I think Kiko has a better chance to be a Pro Bowl player, a dominant player, to be the weak side linebacker. He's playing over a tackle. He's running to the ball. He has less people putting their hands on him. He'll be covered up all the time. He's fast enough. He can play in space. If he has to cover down, I think he will be the best coverage linebacker that we have. And I think if we move him to wheel linebacker, I think we extend his career. He doesn't have to be as physical, and he would be one of the most dominant linebackers in the AFC.
Can I write all that down?
Absolutely.
That was good stuff. That was good.
Yeah, I think I'm with Twan on that one. If Harris does ever line up at a quote-unquote linebacker, it would be standing up and going straight after the quarterback. I don't think you're going to see him being asked to cover tight ends or backs very often.
All right, I'm going to go to here, Periscope. We have, I'm bad with these names. It got game New Jersey. When you play the Pats and Tom Brady, we need a pass rush.
Yes.
So are we saying that I guess you're saying that we need absolutely. That's why we took Harris.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
I got game. I think it's I got game.
Oh well, hey, I don't know. I can't read.
Twan, if you look back in recent years, the team that's given the Patriots problems has been who? The New York Giants. How have they given them problems? Getting to Brady with 4 guys. That's basically the key. You blitz him, he's going to kill you. He will kill you. You drop back and then just don't get pressure on him. He's going to kill you. You need to get pressure with 4.
I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, that's what Denver did when they won the Super Bowl. They were able to get to, the quarterback with 4 down rushmen. And because now you have all those defensive backs, all they have to do is cover. And in linebackers, all they have to do is cover, and it really helps you out on defense.
If you rush with 5, he'll find a way every time.
Yeah, well, you're just one short. Right. I mean, it's like playing cover 3.
And he'll find the open guy every time.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We're on Facebook. We got Brandon Polk. Will we get a running back at some point in this draft? I'm gonna give it to you, Alan.
Andy, it's okay.
I can't do this.
You're looking at him and saying Alan.
I messed up in the beginning. I called you Alan, and I can't get it out of my brain.
It's okay.
You look like an Alan, an alley cat type of deal. I mean, look at your hair. You got the little.
It's okay, Chuck. No
That's a hobby, Chuck. So if I say Alan,
now I'm confused.
All right, I'm asking Alan.
Okay, I'll take that one. Very hard to see that. I mean, with the guys they have, it's interesting because at this time last year there was a lot of uncertainty at running back, and now a year later you're looking at Jay Ajayi coming off that great year of his, Kenyon Drake, who showed big play capabilities in the limited action he got, and then you got Damian Williams, who will be back. He didn't sign an offer sheet as a restricted free agent. With those 3 guys, I just don't see a major need for another running back.
So Alan, the FSU running back is there in the second round for the Dolphins to pick. do you not select him?
Well, here's the thing. If Dalvin Cook slides all the way to 54, then I'm asking myself, why is he still there at 54?
Right.
Well, we know. I mean, he's had some injury issues. He's unfortunately has some off-the-field issues, and Florida State's done a good job of keeping it quiet. And I think all that stuff is starting to come out, even though the stuff is not recent. When you're spending a first-round pick, you're looking at a guy that has great character, which, I think he has great character. I think he's made some mistakes, and he's definitely fallen. I think this is a testament to how important the NFL pays to character. And they're proving that this year, guys who have some off-the-field stuff, they're not going to reward financially, and they're not going to reward with a top pick. They're going to have to work themselves into the National Football League.
Yeah, I think running back, receiver, and quarterback, I'll be surprised if they take one of those three positions in the draft. I think they have too many needs in other areas to go in that direction.
Completely agree there.
Now, a lot of people on Facebook right now, we have Richard Kirby. He's asking about Lamp. No, I'm sorry, not Richard Kirby. We got Roach Coach 15 asking about Lamp. As a guard, I know he's playing tackle, but a lot of people see him as a guard in the National Football League. Do we need to go guard? At what point do we say we need to bring in some depth at our offensive line?
That's a very interesting question. Because here's the thing, if you're picking a guy late in the second round, how much of an impact can you realistically expect from a guy that quickly? And is there a big difference between that guy coming in and what you already have on the roster? That's why I personally would tend to veer towards the defense, i.e. linebacker, defensive back, as we mentioned. Forrest Lamp, on the other hand, is a guy who many analysts, scouts projected it in the first round. If he's there sitting at 54.
Why?
And he's a guy, why? But he's also a guy, there's no red flags from anything we've gathered. He's a clean prospect in terms of off the field, and he's a very good athlete as well. Obviously, he'd be somebody you'd have to consider.
I don't know. If I'm a general manager, I don't know if I care what other people think. If I have a grade on a guy, if I have an opinion about a guy,
I agree.
and he's there at my pick, I'm like, okay, the draft didn't work out for him. Maybe they ran on quarterbacks. Everyone adjusted their board, and
Laramie Tunsil was there last year. They didn't hesitate taking him.
He's going to be our starting tackle this year.
Right.
So, I don't have a problem with that at all.
No, that's fine, but you have to investigate what the issue is that has made so many teams bypass him.
But can we overthink this thing too much? At the end of the day, let's watch film. Can a guy line up and play football? Yes, you have the measurables, but can he play football? And I think that's the challenge that I always have. General managers watch film and they put a grade on the guy, then the combine and say, well, he wasn't as fast as I thought. Well, heck, when he had the helmet and shoulder pads on, he was faster than everybody else.
Yeah, the combine testing times and all that I would tend to overlook. But then if you have a guy who's not clean in terms of off the field stuff, then it becomes a question of risk reward. Is he that much better than the next guy you have that you want to take that risk? Or do you want to go with a guy who maybe not quite as good a prospect, but is going to be a solid citizen, not give you any problems?
Alan, that's actually a great question. I'm going to turn it to Andy. When you're drafting, at what point do you say, I take the best player, and then at what point in the draft do you switch over to, I'm taking need?
Well, this regime is a little bit different than past regimes. Past regimes here had a tendency to force picks. I don't think the Chris Greer, Mike Tannenbaum, Adam Gase triumvirate are forcing picks. I believe they're going with their board. Now, how they constructed their board may have been based on their needs. For instance, they may not have a quarterback very high on their board right now because they don't need a quarterback. But I think they're going to stick with their board, and as the needs fall, they will adjust somewhat. But I think for the most part, they're going to stick with their board.
Well, you actually alluded to Richard Kirby. He's on Facebook checking us out. He said, will we pick defense? Are we picking defense early, and with the exception of guard, are we just picking defense here in the first few rounds?
Just to pick defense?
Yeah. Should we just pick defense in the first 3 rounds?
No. If somebody is available when it's time for the Dolphins to pick, who they have rated as clearly better than anybody else, regardless of position, I think you have to jump on them, because you can, again, as Andy alluded to, you can never have enough good players at every single solitary position because injuries happen. Down the line, some guys are going to leave. Not everybody's going to be here for the next 10 years. So what you want to do is you want to build up your roster with as much talent as possible. And it's foolish to just lock yourself into defense.
See, one of the beauties of the regime we are involved with now with the Dolphins is that they're not concerned about their jobs. Nobody has a one-year edict. There is a comfort zone that they can select players not only for the short term, but for the long term. and that's good to have. That's that comfort zone is important. You see, yesterday Andy Reid in Kansas City trades up for a quarterback. Well, he has a comfort zone that he's going to be there to see that quarterback mature. This group with the Dolphins has a similar comfort zone, and that can help secure their strategy as well.
That's a great point. Who were the winners and losers in the first round yesterday?
Alan, I'll let you jump on this, but I think the Browns having 3 first-round picks and getting 3 guys that are going to contribute right away have to be at the head of the class.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I like San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco moved up 1 spot from 2 to 3, picked up like 2/3 and a 4th.
And I don't like the Bears.
And still wound up Solomon Thomas, who's one of the...
San Fran did a great job.
Yeah.
But I struggle with the Cleveland pick because you need a quarterback. And you have 3 picks and you walk away at the first round with nothing?
You got 3 starters in the first round.
Yeah, you got 3 starters, but who's going to give them the ball? I mean, that's the challenge that I have.
That's the problem. You keep procrastinating on a quarterback. You're never going to have a quarterback.
And then make a statement, we're going to find our quarterback. Well, heck, you had the opportunity. You had 3 quarterbacks standing right there, and you didn't take them.
Alan, is there
obviously they didn't have a very strong conviction on any of them.
Alan, is there a stud quarterback still out there?
Well, studs. If we were to apply the
who's
term,
the best quarterback still
probably
out there?
Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame. But not everybody sold on him. There's so again, they had plenty. Twan, as you mentioned, they had plenty of chances to get a quarterback. Obviously, they didn't have a very strong conviction.
And they traded
on any
out
of
of a
them.
Chance to get a quarterback. Several chances to get it.
Well, they could have taken whoever they wanted at 1. They had 12, and they traded out to allow. Was that the Mahomes pick or was it Deshaun Watson?
Right.
That they could have had at that spot.
When you look at a Chicago, they trade up for one slot. Was that a smart move?
No, I don't think so.
If Trubisky becomes a stud, it was.
Well,
he better be good.
I would have loved to play it out to see if San Francisco was going to take the quarterback. Because they may have been swooned into giving up 2/3 and a 4th for a guy that would have been there for them anyway.
Well, the word is that San Francisco was fielding multiple offers, and the Bears came up with the best one.
That's just a very steep price to move up 1 spot.
But
Holy
again,
moly, as a friend of mine said.
But if he becomes a stud, nobody will complain about the price they paid. No. But he better be good.
So we have Ron Willis, 18. He's asking, will Zach Cunningham be available at the 54th pick?
Good question.
I wouldn't think so, but I would love it if he were.
I mean, do you pull the trigger on? Nobody else excites you other than him?
No, a lot of guys excite me. But on the football field as prospects, I might add.
We're talking football.
This is a general audience show.
But he's a guy, he's a very active linebacker, makes a lot of plays. I could see him in a Dolphin uniform, not have a problem with that.
Yeah, and he would fit a need, and it would fit a quality player. So
we have Joey B. Donuts. He says, who are the next stud linebackers available in the second round that potentially we can go after?
Zach Cunningham.
Right.
McMillan from Ohio State's a nice player. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think here. Those are the 2 that stand out to me. I'd have to refresh the computer page in my head, and at this moment I can't do it.
No, I don't. They took a lot of the linebackers in day 1, but I'm sure the Dolphins know more than us.
It's funny. When I was watching it, I said they must have a strong conviction about the men that they have. When they look at their linebackers, yes, they bring in Timmons, they sure up Koa, he's gonna be here, and then they look at, and so I look at the backup linebackers they have. They have and I'm like, are they comfortable with these guys? Do they have a comfort level that they say, hey, there's no pressing need right now that we have to run out and get a guy? What do you feel about the guys?
They have a bunch of guys that weren't drafted that are still around.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Hull type players.
Neville Hewitt.
Who have ability and an upside.
Like Neville. I like Mike. I like them both.
I do too, but they need to get some pedigree in too, and they need to find some guys that were very productive. As Mike Hull was, he led the Big Ten in tackles, so you can argue it either way.
I think it's a direct correlation to, can a guy play special teams? Is he fierce and is he fast and is he hungry on special teams? I think that translates to linebacker. I think Neville Hewitt and I think Mike, they both do a good job on special teams. And even when they had the opportunities last year, I thought they both performed at a pretty high level, and they just need more experience.
I think they'll both get an opportunity this year, no doubt about it.
What about Anthony Walker from Northwestern?
Can't say I know a whole lot about him, to be honest with you.
Okay. I mean, and so I guess when we're
he's a kid from down here. Yeah, I don't know. I know he's from down here, but I can't say I'm all that familiar with his work.
Now, when I remember watching last night, and I'm changing the subject a little bit. I remember watching last night when Philly's pick came up. Everyone went nuts. Mm-hmm. Do you think they did well last night?
Alan, your call.
You about the Eagles, or you talking about the city of Philadelphia?
No, the Eagles. They brought in Derek
Barnett. Yeah. Well, Derek Barnett's one of those classic guys who was insanely productive at Tennessee's career sack leader, broke Reggie White's records up there, but didn't test well. Right. So he's one of those guys where you just forget about the combine numbers and look at what he did at Tennessee. And if he did that for 3 or 4 years, however long he was there, then
I'm more inclined.
You would think he would do that in the NFL as well.
Alan, are you more inclined to watch the game tape, and the game tape is what tells the truth?
Absolutely.
And not.
So how much tape do you watch? You get to watch.
No, he doesn't watch.
Oh, I mean,
no, but I'm talking the combine.
I got excited
all the time.
I'm talking the combine is more of a beauty pageant in many ways than it is, a real test. And game tapes don't lie.
I agree.
And that, to me, should be the indicator on whether you select.
If I'm a general manager, I am watching the game tape, and if I'm putting 80% on game tape, 20% on the measurables at the combine. Yeah, I want to meet the kid. Yeah, I want to touch and feel. I want to see what he looks like. I want to get a sense of his personality. Does he fit on my team?
Right.
But can he line up and play football? Is he a dog? Is he a poodle?
Right.
Or is he a bulldog? I mean, I want a grown man playing football, and sometimes I think we put so much emphasis on the big sexy guy at the combine that we forget about. They have to put on a helmet and shoulder pads and play football.
Yeah, it always amuses me when guys' stock rises in March and April, and I'm saying their stock should rise in October and November when they're playing, not in March and April. So
I put even less on measurables at the combine because I always think back to Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice, who did not run fast, either one of them, and they turned out okay.
So I thought I was a little surprised that they had a run on quarterbacks. Actually, I thought the quarterbacks to be, after the 15th pick. Maybe, and that's just me. I just didn't think
it's the position.
Always overvalued. Always overvalued.
Because they ran on the quarterback, did that throw off the draft board? Did that really put people on their heels? I mean, is that why they ran on the quarterbacks? Because they took quarterbacks so early, and everybody said, "Oh, okay, their value. They have a lot of value. I got to jump in."
I was more surprised about the run on wide receivers early on. That was a shocker to me, starting with Corey Davis at number 5. Mm-hmm. Then you had Mike Williams at 7, and then John Ross at 9, who can run like crazy, but is kind of has an injury history. That was a lot more shocking to me than the 3 quarterbacks going in the top 12.
Now, Colin James here on Facebook says that there were no stud quarterbacks, and the Browns actually did good not taking a quarterback. And I know that's kind of opposite of what I thought earlier, and that kind of goes towards you guys.
Time will tell. It's you just don't know. If they're right, then they were smart.
There was no guy. The one thing, there was no guy coming into this draft who was like franchise quarterback.
Andrew Luck.
Right. Like Peyton Manning. There was not anywhere near that kind of guy this year.
Now, Rod Rose, he's on Facebook. He's saying, what direction do we go tonight, Alan?
Well, we kind of touched on it. I would think it's going to be the best player available if all things are equal. I would think they focus on defense.
Right now, what position do we take?
I think there's going to be a DB, and I would expect, my guess would be DB in the second round, offensive lineman in the third.
I would think linebacker in the second round, DB in the third.
I'm with you. Yeah,
that's what I think.
I think there's.
We'll find out.
I think from a depth standpoint, they're still looking at. I need to bring in a linebacker. I mean, Cole's been injured. He's been banged up. Kiko. He had a small injury last year. I just think in their mind they need to bring in some depth. And then when you look at it, we gotta bring in a guy that we can groom for the next 3 or 4 years. We got a couple young guys, and they want to bring in a guy. I think that's what they did with Harris. Mm-hmm. I totally believe they're gonna bring in a corner.
Don't forget that. Here's the thing about the DB linebacker debate, that a lot of times you play with only 2 linebackers on the field. Sometimes you play with only 1 linebacker on the field. So you don't need as many DBs.
I disagree, because now you have Kiko. I think he can play, and I think Timmons, if he's a middle linebacker, I think you can go at 2. You can go in what we call a dime, not dime, but a nickel defense where you keep 2 linebackers in, and Timmons is the middle, and he can be the guy that's, playing on the inside, and then you can move Kiko in and out. So if that slot running back or whoever goes in the backfield, now we can still have 2 linebackers. And I actually think we're in a good shape from a linebacker standpoint.
yeah, you kind of backing on my
be in a
point
better shape
where
after
we
tonight,
go
I think.
DB.
But I mean, but we don't have. I don't think we have strong depth. I think that's where we differ. Like,
Okay, no, I
just
don't
think that
disagree. I don't
have
disagree
one,
with that.
We need one guy behind the scenes. I mean, we I think now at defensive end, we're stronger. We have some depth. We can never have enough DBs.
Right.
I think you can always bring in DBs. And then I think linebackers is at one position on defense where we just need to add one more guy that plays at a high level.
I also say I think we're overlooking also defensive tackle as a need. As
You
I
think
think
that's a
about
need?
it, well, the Dolphins let go Earl Mitchell early in the offseason, so right now we're looking at Sue and Jordan Phillips, who still needs to show he can produce consistently. And then who do we have behind those?
I just think
Wormsley?
I'm sorry,
Wormsley still? Yeah.
Julius Wormsley, who's kind of a defensive end / defensive
Right.
tackle.
and I think Hayes can move inside too on third down. Do you think he can play inside a little bit?
A little bit, but I think I'd be inclined to think in obvious pass rushing situations, William Hayes very possibly comes off the field.
No, but you make a good point, and I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if they take a defensive tackle on Saturday.
Again, it depends.
I also
who's
wouldn't be
available.
surprised if Mike Tannenbaum he hasn't done his magic wand yet. So I think it's a possibility that they'll get more picks. That they'll give up. Maybe they'll trade down in the second round or down and get additional picks.
Certainly, right now they don't have a pick in the fourth round, so that
Right.
certainly would.
On Facebook, we have Anthony Sadadin. I screwed that up, Anthony. He makes a good point. He says Pouncey's had some injuries. Should we be looking at center?
Well, the thing is what they have is that I have a lot of guys who are guards / center. Practically all the guards I have on the roster can play center.
So you think Steen is a pretty
Well,
good?
Lawson can play center, can he?
Ted Larson can play center. Craig Urbick can play center. Steen played center last year. Again, if there's one available when it comes their time to pick, guy from Ohio State's a very good player. There's another one from West Virginia who's also a very good prospect at center. If they're available at 54, I mean, nothing wrong with that pick, but they're not going to force it.
So when you look at like a team like Tampa Bay right up the road, and everyone thought they're going to be taking what's the running back from Florida State?
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. Do you think that was a mistake on their end? Because everyone said that they're going to take Dalvin Cook, and they should have taken Dalvin Cook.
Now when they have a guy who was considered easily the best tight end prospect
from Alabama.
Yeah, O.J. Howard, and then you pair him up now. They got him. Cameron Braid last year had a very good season as a tight end, and then outside they got Mike Evans and you got Deshaun Jackson. I mean, that's some nice offensive weapons there for Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he's going to be a very good player. He's big, fast, great hands. There are people who want to see the Dolphins take him because you pair him with Julius Thomas and you got a potent 1-2 tight end. He's no, I don't fault Tampa Bay for that.
All right, so I got to go ahead and put this on the table. My favorite player to draft was Christian McCaffrey, and I love the guy. I think he's a football player, and honestly, and I hate to throw this, I almost think it's reverse racism. Like I think he's one of the most talented players coming out of the draft. The guy can play slot, he can play running back, and he has that grit. When I look at he has that real dog in him. Do you think he should have went higher? Or do you think he went right where he should have went?
I think he's going to be an excellent player, and I like him a lot. And I thought he was going to be a top 10 player, and he was a top 10 player. Alan,
No, I mean he went 8 as a running back. I mean you can't go much higher than that. I mean I think pretty clearly unanimous that Fournette's a better, potentially higher ceiling as a running back. Again, you mentioned McCaffrey's a guy who can do so many different things for that Carolina offense. Particularly, I mean, outlet passes from Cam Newton, who did not have that last year because of their running backs. They had Mike Tolbert and Jonathan Stewart, who are not exactly pass catchers out of the backfield. So a perfect fit for him in Carolina.
I think he's going to be brilliant in Carolina. I think they're going to spread him out. They're going to bring him back in, and they're going to be able to run the ball with him and pass the ball with him at the same time. And you're not going to know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think Cam Newton's a happy man today. I think he got a player that's going to help him grow his game and turn a lot of 4 or 5 yard passes into 30, 40 yard gains.
Well, guys, that was a quick 30 minutes, man. That was an awesome show.
It's over already?
It's over already.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Audible powered by South Florida Ford. We have Andy to my left. I finally got it right.
There you
And
go.
we have Alan to my right. Poupart. So thank you very much. See you guys next time, and hopefully I can do this again.